In this WrestleTalk news, WWE Raw is the worst mess it's ever been, a huge update on Cody Rhodes going back to WWE, and the latest on Scott Hall. Subscribe and enable notifications to always on for daily wrestling news videos.
Support WrestleTalk!
We open today's video with the tragic news surrounding wrestling legend Scott Hall, who was placed on life support yesterday after suffering 3 heart attacks thought to be caused by a loose blood clot during hip surgery. Wade Keller of PW and Torch was the first to report this news, and it's since been revealed by Hall's outsiders and NWO brother Kevin Nash. At the time of this writing and recording, once his family are in place, they are going to turn off Scott Hall's support machine. Posting on Instagram, Nash writes, "I'm going to lose the one person on this planet I've spent more of my life with than anyone else. My heart is broken. I'm so very sad. I love Scott with all of my heart, but now I have to prepare my life without him in the present. I've been blessed to have a friend that took me at face value, and I him. When we jumped to WCW, we didn't care who liked or hated us. We had each other, and with the smooth Barry Bloom, we changed wrestling both in content and paid for those a lot that disliked us. We were the outsiders, but we had each other. Scott always felt he wasn't worthy of the afterlife. Well, God, please have some gold-plated toothpicks for my brother. My life was enriched with his take on life. He wasn't perfect, but as he always said, the last perfect person to walk the planet they nailed to a cross. As we prepare for life without him, just remember there goes a great guy. You ain't gonna see another one like him again. See you down the road, Scott. I couldn't love a human being any more than I do you." Hall began his wrestling career during the 1980s and reached new levels of fame when he joined the WWF as Razor Ramon, having that all-time classic ladder match against Shawn Michaels over the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania 10. 2 years later, he would jump ship to World Championship Wrestling with Kevin Nash, and the two would be the founding members of the industry-changing group, the New World Order, alongside Hulk Hogan. He returned to WWE in 2002 to reform the NWO with Hogan and Nash, and would have a match with Steve Austin at WrestleMania X8. He had sporadic appearances in TNA in the mid-2000s, returning again in 2010 to do a new version of the NWO called The Band with Nash and Sean Waltman, before being released and announcing his retirement from wrestling. However, Hall's career in the 90s and into the 2000s was plagued with alcohol and substance abuse issues, which were even incorporated into storylines towards the end of his run in WCW. In 2013, after he'd been in and out of hospital and rehab, he was taken in by Diamond Dallas Page, where he launched a crowdfunding campaign to pay for his hip replacement surgery. The target was $80,000, but received nearly $110,000 from fans. This was documented as part of the Resurrection of Jake the Snake documentary, who was also being helped out by DDP at the time. After being thought by the wrestling world to be at the end of their respective roads, both men turned their lives around and were inducted into the 2014 WWE Hall of Fame clean and sober, where Hall delivered his now iconic line, "Hard work pays off, dreams come true, bad times don't last, but bad guys do." We here at WrestleTalk would like to pass on our condolences to Scott Hall's family at this tragic time, and thanks Scott for his years in the ring for our entertainment. 2021 was, for me, one of the worst years creatively for WWE Raw I've ever been witness to. Each week the show seemed to find a way to reach a new low, or worse, mediocrity and boredom. However, since fans have come back and for most of 2022, the show has been much better. It's certainly better than SmackDown. However, a new report from Ringside News suggests that it's not all rosy behind the scenes. I know, I'm as stunned as you are. While talking about Cody Rhodes' seemingly imminent return to WWE, more on that in a moment, Ringside News note that they've been told that Raw is the worst mess it's ever been, noting that Vince McMahon makes decisions for the show, tells Bruce Pritchard and Ed Koskey and Johnny Ace, but the rest of the creative team stays in the dark until they arrive at the building to write the show on Mondays. And this ties into the latest chapter on the up and down story that is Cody Rhodes to WWE confirmed. He officially left AEW on February 15th after a new deal could not be reached between the two parties. days, and it was heavily reported that he would be going back into Vince's fold. It was even noted the following day that there was a celebratory feel within WWE that one of AEW's biggest names was jumping ship to them rather than the other way round, which has been the case for the last few years. But remember, they're not competition, wink. However, Sean Ross Sapp then noted on the Fightful Q&A podcast toward the end of February that news between Rhodes and WWE had gone eerily silent, with Cassidy Haynes of Body Slam then reporting on March 4th that talks between the two had fizzled out. On that same day, Ringside News reported that they were told by a tenured member of creative that Cody was still scheduled for a WrestleMania match against Seth Rollins, and that match is still on the list, noting that if it had changed, no one told us or corrected the internal documents. See the previous story about Raw being a mess for further details. Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio said a couple of days later that all of the creative that had been laid out for Rhodes was now uncertain, and that the creative team don't know what's going on. See the previous story about Raw being a mess for further details. On March 10th, this all changed, as Ringside News reported that his name was now off the WrestleMania chart with no opponent listed for Seth Rollins. WrestleVote seemingly backed this up with a report on March 11th, saying that he was the last domino to fall in terms of big matches for Mania for obvious reasons. Which brings us to the latest from Sean Ross Sapp over at Fightful Select, who is reporting that, at least according to an AEW EVP, the American Nightmare is signed or was signing with WWE and would face Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. I mean, it's one of these three guys that's the source, right? Fightful Select add that they haven't confirmed this news, but adds fuel to the speculation fire that Rhodes will be on Monday Night Raw tonight, which comes to you from Jacksonville, Florida, home of All Elite Wrestling. They also write that last week on Raw, Damian Priest took out Finn Balor using the Razor's Edge rather than his usual finish of the Reckoning, which is the same move as Cody Rhodes' Crossroads, with one producer telling Fightful that it wasn't an accident that Priest's finish was changed. Cody Rhodes WWE confirmed will be on Raw tonight. And those aren't the only WrestleMania plans that are now up in the air. Thank you for your support on Patreon. He's no jackass Dano and fantastic Mr. Good Old Fox. Get your own Patreon shoutout in the WrestleTalk news over at patreon.com/WrestleTalk. It was a rather eventful episode of SmackDown this past Friday, as not only did we see the new main roster debut of Pete Dunne, who is now named Butch, Butch, but also the very scary injury to Big E, who was stretchered out of the building. E himself confirmed that he broke his neck, but posted more positive news a few hours later, informing fans that there is no damage to his spinal cord, no ligament damage, and no surgery will be required. Fightful Select note that the original plan for WrestleMania 38 was to have a fully reformed New Day, with Xavier Woods returning to in-ring action over the weekend at WWE house shows, taking on the new team of Sheamus, Rich Holland, and Butch. It's now unknown what the plans for those teams are as we head towards Mania. Speaking of Butch. And Fightful Select were told ahead of SmackDown's airing that something very dumb was going to happen on the show, which ended up being the rebranding of Pete Dunne to Butch. Bizarrely, they also add that the name Butch is a rib on Rich Holland, as his real name is Luke, which is the same as Bushwhacker Luke, whose tag partner was Bushwhacker Butch. WWE is a weird company. PW Insider are also reporting that Vince McMahon was extra hands-on with this past Friday's SmackDown, and that led to a number of changes throughout the day, including removing a Kevin Owens in-ring segment, which had been reported by Fightful Select, which was replaced by them simply airing Steve Austin's response video to Owens instead. And finally, a Twitter user has shared an image online of WWE filming exterior shots in Texas, which may have revealed the new title design for the winner of Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar's winner-takes-all match at WrestleMania. The report was that this will indeed unify both the WWE and Universal Championships, at least for the time being, and we now know it could go by the name WWE World Heavyweight Championship. The design as seen in this image is the same as the current WWE and Universal Championships, but with a blue line under the WWE logo rather than the red ones. It's the little differences, I guess. I'd like to thank all of you who watched and checked out mine and Pete's brand new series over on Parts Fun Known, where we're playing through WWE 2K22's My GM mode. Last Friday we released our draft picks, and today on PFK the first actual booking episode will be on the channel. We've had a lot of fun making it, and we'd love to continue doing it as a regular series, so please check it out if you haven't already.
Tony Storm is right there. Tony Storm coming to SmackDown. Did you want Tony Storm by any chance, mate?
Yeah, I did. That was actually going to be my next pick.
Ah.
Yeah, no, I really wanted Tony Storm. Yeah, no, I really wanted